Welcome to the 8 Billion Project, where we're on a mission to make an impact by discovering and sharing the purpose of every person on this planet. I'm your host, Liza, Florida. Enjoy today's episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 8 Billion Podcast. I am your host, Liza, Florida. And today we have a special guest from Jamaica. We have Shanique Davis. And she holds an Associate of Science degree in Hospitality, Entertainment, and Tourism Management, majoring in accommodations. Constant changes in the demand for jobs in the sector were unfulfilling and led her to seek other employment means. Though Shanique was naturally stubborn, she learned to make the necessary changes, resulting in her discovery of her love of literature, self-help novels. Her first book, Breaking Your Barriers, published on International Women's Day, is the lead manual that allows her to manage an awe-inspiring and transcending barriers of all ages. Shanique also works from home as an editor and the founder of a nonprofit organization, TruthTalk Series, and is committed to helping her fellow authors build their brands by giving them a platform to speak, interviewing nearly 100 authors in the past year. As she learns and grows in character and as an author, she hopes to build and retain a lasting legacy of success among people who desire to become the best version of themselves. Welcome, Shanique Davis, to the 8 Billion Podcast. Thank you so much for being on.
And thank you for having me. It is an absolute pleasure. I can assure you it is. I'm so happy to be alive most of all. And I'm so happy that I'm able to learn even during this pandemic. So yeah, I'm just glad to be here. Once I am living a life that will definitely inspire somebody to be better. Yeah.
And this is amazing. You are my first guest from Jamaica. And I was just like, all of these people from Jamaica, they drop so much soul, all this soul advice. And I'm so excited to actually, talk more about a lot of the mission that you're on. Now, you said that here in your bio, even in just the last year, you have interviewed over 100 authors. Is that correct? Did this start in 2020?
2020, like right after the pandemic. Yeah.
And how as a podcast host, we're always, we're constantly meeting people and guests. How did you find 100 authors in just the year 2020? I mean, granted, there are over 100 authors, but to be able to circulate like that, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, the over 100, they're not entirely authors. Most of them are. And the others were like fillers. So whenever I'm unable to get an author or book an author, then I would have to find somebody else, an expert, maybe a friend, somebody who volunteered to take their spot for the evening, and they would present as if we had an author. There is a demand now. I've noticed that since I started writing my book, there is a demand for writing. I'm not sure what it is. If it's because we're in the age of information, whatever the case, more and more persons are coming out as authors. I believe it's also a part of them building a personal brand for themselves. They want credibility, because I've heard that being an author is a great conversation starter. And other persons, of course, they want to make additional income. We'll find out more that, it's not like that. We don't just make money from books. It is a long-term investment, and so it takes a lot of hard work. So me doing podcasting is actually journeying into my long-term investment into this season of writing and equipping others with a voice, right? So you write, but you actually have to speak to people for them to understand what you wrote, because not a lot of people like to read. And by giving other persons that platform to speak, more persons will get to know them, feel comfortable enough to even go ahead and read something that they wrote. So yeah, it has its own challenges, but it has been a great ride so far. I've met a lot of amazing people, yourself included. I have made friends online. It's a whole journey, and I feel so blessed being a part of it. My closest friends are people I actually met online who are authors. So yeah, it's a really great journey.
It's true. Like in this day and age where we are, I think maybe prior to even the pandemic, right? A lot of people, for like what you're saying, is people will write books for credibility or to build a brand. But right now I'm noticing this surge of either authors and speakers and people like myself being on podcasts and like including live streaming. They're coming out because what's most important is the expression of how they feel. And a big part of this journey that I'm on is being able to use my skills and talents to actually help share stories like yourself. But what I was, a big part of an epiphany that starts to unfold for me as I go through this journey is as I interview each person, a lot of these interviews help heal me too as a person, because you're able, you know what I mean? In this space that we have maybe 30 minutes to an hour to just get to know each other, you get to know each other on such even a deep level in that short amount of time, because you have in most cases, it's we are living, instead of an age of information, it's an age of authenticity, right?
True. Yes,
yeah,
people are in love with expression. Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm absolutely. Sometimes I even have a hard time spinning it out, because sometimes there's no words to truly express how the journey that I've been on. But both of us came from live streaming, right? Or you're currently live streaming. I started off as live streaming, and it's been the greatest gift for me. I actually love it. It's just, I've transitioned into podcasting, but I would love to go back to it. And who knows where the future holds of 8 billion. But could you tell me a little bit more why you went down the live streaming route, or how that came about?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first published my book, I realized that I am a newcomer. I didn't have that big of an audience. I am this little girl from Jamaica that nobody knows. I never talk. I'm so quiet. And, I wrote this amazing book, and I just had so much passion that, I knew that it could change lives, but I needed an audience for that to happen. So my editor at the time, she encouraged me to speak more, because I was so bad. I did not want to talk. I grew up very shy and sheltered, so I didn't speak. And it was also due to a lack of confidence. And I started Talk Truth Tuesdays, which I would normally do on a day like this.
Okay.
And I said to myself, I'm going to speak more, based on the encouragement I got. I'm going to speak more. But I don't remember what happened. And I interviewed my first guest author on May 19th last year. Today is the 11th. Yeah. May 19th last year. And she was my editor. I interviewed her about her book and all of that. And it just went from there. I started doing, having more guests appear online with me. And so I could interact, because, talking to yourself is different from when you're talking to other people.
Mm-hmm.
So I got more exposure talking to other people. When you have viewers, The guests bring their family and friends or whoever knows them, would follow them over, and we could all have a good time online interacting. And the greatest part for me was having a local guest. So for me, I really love speaking the Jamaican Creole or Patois. So whenever I have Jamaican guests online with me, I would go off into this Creole life. I don't know if it's a dream or what. And
it is a space.
Forget that I have US viewers. So it's always a fun time for me to speak with local authors. But yeah, that's how I started. I didn't have an audience, so I took the time to build a platform and give back at the same time, because nobody was giving this little girl any exposure. And I decided that I wanted to give that to somebody, even though I wasn't getting it. And I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And this podcast is still building. And
Yes.
it's, and like I said, I hope for it to, the biggest dream is for it to be a legacy for others. So whether someone sees it now or, in the future, I hope that it provides so much great value as everyone kind of journeys to their self-discovery. Now, tell me, you just mentioned something about the whole Jamaican Creole. Could you take us into letting us know what the culture is like? I know this might be just an off question, but, in podcasting, this is what happens is, we talk about like what sometimes you'll have a series of questions to ask, right? Because you want to. But what I do with my guests is I allow just the conversation to happen. And, it's just like if I were to just meet you and I were to have a conversation with you, sometimes those are the most amazing conversations because you do get to know someone. But take me into what the Jamaican culture is, because I knew you would drop some gems today, especially from that soul love. That's exactly what I was trying to say from this, from the beginning of this interview. What is the Jamaican culture like?
It's a whole vibe, I can tell you. It's a whole mood. And the only way for you to really understand is to actually come and experience it for yourself. I know that the pandemic is kind of making it hard. It might be costly or expensive to come here. But all I can tell you is it's great. I was saying to my husband the other day that, I kind of feel bad for people who aren't Jamaican.
I wanted to let you know, I think I just watched your most recent video that you uploaded maybe a few days ago. And her name was Kate. Is it Acadian?
Yeah.
Okay, Kadia. So I was listening to it and you were talking about relationships, right? And I was just like, wow, like she's a lot of what she explained. It's almost like I knew, I definitely knew it, but yeah. I was just like, for her to sit there and I didn't know what she was going to say. And then she dropped all this wisdom, and it's very true. When you're in relationships, it's a complete exchange of energy, right? And oftentimes, and like I said, I don't know where these podcasts are going to go in tangents, but she was amazing in that and I don't know if you agreed with her or if she, and I don't know if that's part of that Jamaican, like, do you guys know it? You're born with it. And that's, here on this journey in the United States, for me, I'm 43 years old, and it took me many years to understand that exchange. Many, many years. That exchange of like, you know what I mean? Because you go through so many different programs in life and relationships. And then, you know what I mean? They oftentimes, if you don't heal that part of your past, you'll carry it onto the next relationship and the next relationship. And before you know it, you have like for me, there was just no choice but to truly deal with those issues. So it was really, I was just like, I'm going to talk about that. If there was one thing that I wanted to, bring up, I mean, she was such a great guest, and I thank you for having her, because I feel like there was that great message that she gave.
Yeah, it's always a vibe hanging with Katie, and even offline, she's actually a good friend of mine. She's also an author. And so I thought that it would be great to bring her on that night as a part of our girl connection so that she could she's so expressive. And that's one of the coolest things about being Jamaican. We have a joke for everything.
Right.
We don't stay sad for too long. Yes, we get discouraged, but there's always something to laugh about. It's like, we've been saying that Jamaica is not a real place.
No.
When it comes to serious things, no. There are things that we do take seriously, but we don't let it overburden us. We don't allow certain things to stress us out for too long. We're always mimicking and, laughing about stuff. And I believe that's a way that we garner strength from everything that's happening around us. We do have our problems as people, but we gather strength from the little good that we can find. And we, put it all in a bundle of niceness and jokes, and we laugh about it. So, yeah.
No, it's amazing. Like, of course, I'm American, right? I'm born and raised here in the United States, but I'm Filipino by ethnicity, and it's different too. Like the way like life is of course because I'm raised by both my parents, but when you're raised by parents that are like in the Philippines, they'll even if you're in the United States, they'll bring the culture over. And it's very tribal. It's very soulful. Like we're island people. We like everything is a family. So it doesn't matter like what it's like here in the United States. It's like when you take that culture in and you go from house to house and you pick up that culture, and it's like a vibe. It is like a different world. And I can only imagine, I mean, like, I don't believe that there are any accidents in life. And so that's why I know like you are my first guest from Jamaica, and it's amazing. And like, it's such a pleasure to be able to share what the culture is like, because there is something to say, especially maybe during the pandemic, like how you guys go through your issues, right? Or how you guys go through, your challenges. Like there's just this vibe that you guys have that's very soulful, and you guys get it.
We laugh about every single thing. I mean, even we had a shootout yesterday in town, and there was a police officer that was hiding the whole time. One officer, was hiding the whole time behind a car. I think it was a female, and I could understand, she might be a little scared because training is different from the real life. And I was saying to myself, where in the world does a police officer sign up to be a Superman or a Superwoman? Or where were they born out of iron? Nowhere. But I'm telling you, Jamaicans had a field day from that one officer. I'm sure she didn't sleep last night, but she'll get over it because Jamaicans are rough. I mean, we laugh at everything, and there were memes coming out, people on TikTok, people posting stuff. Listen, people actually went and did their own skits just like officers, and they were hiding behind the car as if, there was a shootout with the little sticks. And listen, Jamaicans are the worst when it comes to serious things. And that's how we get through, stressful times. We laugh about everything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but even though in the middle, going back to like, like what you're saying, interview, maybe even if it wasn't 100 authors or something like that, to be able to do like 100 interviews is amazing. Here as podcast hosts, we try and at least release a podcast out a week. But, there is something different about the live streaming world. Because, it is different. So anyone that's in the audience, live streaming it's not easy by any means. If you actually want to go into podcasting, I suggest trying live streaming first, because it helps get rid of the the anxiety, because if it's pre-recorded, you always have this thing about, maybe like setting everything up. But when it's live, it's live. If you make a mistake, it's out there. And people are watching it live. So you can't turn it off and you can't edit it. And there's really something to say about live streaming. Live streaming is an amazing way to actually get out there. I know that probably it's, yeah. And
the greatest thing is I love putting people on the spot. Listen, I'm in the hot seat right now and I'm sweating, right? And I haven't even gotten into anything yet. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I love doing it, because I get to ask people the serious questions. So if I ask you, Lisa, why are you wearing a peach top? I'm not sure if it's peach. Why are you wearing a peach top?
It's kind of like
coral. I just decided to put it on today. Yeah, it's a really nice color. It makes my eyes pop, and it really blends in with my whole skin and everything. Okay, and then I'll ask you something in Patois. So you mean to tell me that you put on that peach top because so and so? Are you sure? And then I would call in the viewers and say, ask her. She's here. Ask her. Yeah. So I like.
I was like, now you're making me think of why I wore this top. But actually, I wore it, and so it was long sleeve. But who knows really why I wore it, right? It's the deeper questions, right?
Yes.
That you have.
Yeah.
That's what I love about. I was with my producers yesterday, and they, we're talking about being able to ask the right questions. And it's true. All of us, there were 4 podcasters on there, and we all agreed that the best podcast interviews just happen naturally. So even if you're a book author, we might not even talk about the book, but it's really about being able to have these amazing conversations with people and really understand either their driving force behind everything, right? Mine specifically on my podcast is about uncovering the real purpose of many people. And so oftentimes I'll ask, what was the journey for you that literally, was it a moment in time, or was it a series of events that changed the trajectory of where you are now, that shot you into your mission? See, you want some deep questions, Shanique? I'm going to ask you some good questions.
Thank you. Well, yes, it was a moment in time, and some experiences that I've had, up to, it started with writing. So I've never been the person to talk, much less talk on camera. I've never been the person to go out and make friends and connect with people. I'll never do that, never. So all of this that you're seeing happened since I wrote one thing, Breaking Your Barriers. And I decided that if I'm gonna really break barriers, those are the things that have been holding me back over the years. Imagine what I can accomplish when I don't allow these things to keep me down anymore. Always so easy to get discouraged, always, giving up on myself. I've never finished anything that I started. I'm always quarreling. I'm always arguing, always doubting myself. All of that. And I realized that the more I came out and did what I had to do, I could change lives, because people were watching me and I did not know. So when I changed, other people started to change.
Yes.
And when I brought that same energy to live streaming, I realized that even after I finished speaking to somebody on live, because I used to do an hour and a half, and the minute I say end live and we get off, my guest goes off and starts doing lives. And I don't know what it is, but they just all of a sudden feel that, they can actually do this, because I gave them an opportunity. So it started with me, and it started with, me trying to stop doing certain things. I just wanted to be better. And so me unloading that on somebody else, makes them want to be better as well. So yeah, that's how it all happened. And it keeps happening. So I started doing lives 3 times a week. I got my friends to be my co-hosts, but I didn't have good internet connection, and it was the same thing. So I conveyed that message to them that, hey, this is what I'm doing. And they would do the same thing on the live streams as if I was there. And so, I believe they honored my request indirectly, and they just did the same thing. So the guests keep on feeling that, because Shanique gave them an opportunity, or Talk Truth Series did that for them, they are going to be able to shine now the way they should. So yeah, that's
like, especially when I have guests, I'm very expressive, and that's why I'm raising my hand, Shanique, because that's absolutely what you were talking about, like that soul that comes from it. Very many times in my life, I felt the same way. Like I would start things. I have like these big dreams, inspiration. I would start it. And I never knew throughout the journey what was happening as it was going through. And I would never finish it because it was a lack of confidence. It was a lack of self-worth. And then when it shifted, fast forward many, many years, right? There's a time when you say, just like Genesis, enough is enough. Like I've got to change this pattern, this behavior. I've got to work on it, or I'm not going to see lasting change. And I worked on myself, and I changed internally, and literally my exterior world changed. Like the people that came into my life were more of a reflection of me. They were inspiring. They, you influence, right? Because you're showing them that you're ordinary, like not ordinary, but they are just equal. Like meaning to say, if you have the capacity to do it, they do. And you're inspiring people because you're leading by example. You're saying, I'm no different. I have insecurities. I have, feelings of, for me, they were like unworthiness, abandonment, frustration, all of these. And you have to, at one point though, you have to honor those feelings first in order to get rid of them. But sometimes it's a painful journey, but I believe that you definitely did it. You know what I mean? So as far as breaking barriers, what year did you write this?
Was in 2019.
Okay.
After I left my job, I finally had time to finish because I started, but we have excuses. I'm too tired when I get home from work. I don't have enough time on the weekends because, it's chores. I just don't have the time. And I did not want to write anything. That's one of the most, surprising parts about this whole thing. I'm sticking to something that I didn't even want to do in the first place. And that's because I've seen the results. I've seen how accountable writing this book is for me. It keeps me on track. It helps me keep my ducks in a row. They're not in there all the time. Sometimes they wander off. But when I remember, that Shanique, you wrote this and you have to practice what you preach, then all the ducks have to line up. Yeah, they have to come in line. So the more I practice what I preach, it's the more other people are accountable, because I find out that people are saying, your message is so inspiring. I feel like I've known you forever and you understand me. And, I started a business because I didn't believe in myself. I felt like we sat down and we wrote this book together. Things like that really encouraged me to continue, even though I didn't want to do it, because Lisa, when you're shy, it's not the easiest thing to do, to come out and speak about things that, you're struggling with. You get this feeling that people are going to judge you.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to say things that, how could you write this? Who are you to be telling me how to live my life? People start asking you these questions. Who gave you authority to speak on these things? What experience do you have as a young girl? You're only 27. What do you know about life? You're so young. They start saying, this is not real. You're doing this for the money. And, it's a whole lot of things that, people have asked me. But I can tell you that I'm proud of sticking to it. And I've only done that with, I found I've been telling people that there are 3 B's for me that you can practice even if you haven't read the book. 3 B's to get you started. And the first thing that you actually said is to honor what you've been through. And I call that being aware. You know where you've been. You know the stresses that come with not finishing what you started. You know how anxiety makes you feel. You know what happens when you don't believe in yourself. You know what feeling unworthy does to you, and how many opportunities you miss out on when you when you sabotage your own opportunities. You know how that feels. Mm-hmm. So the first thing, of course, is being aware. And the next one is being mindful. That is when you're going to catch yourself overthinking, feeling anxious for no reason at all, feeling not so confident in yourself, grieving too much about things that, are not even worth grieving for. Because that's just how we feel when we lose something. So we want to catch ourselves, being jealous, being envious, being greedy. Yeah, we want to be careful. And the last thing, of course, is be proactive, which is what you're going to do now, is take some steps to make sure that you don't fall back where you're coming from. It's easy for us to say, I think I've had enough. I don't really want to do this, and just pull back and go back and settle. It's so easy to do that. But we should always remember that we have fuel in our tanks every day when we get up. It's an opportunity to be our best selves. That's a chance, a second chance at doing things better. And so we want to take corrective actions to make sure that we have a smile, or we put a smile on someone else's face. We want to be intentional about the things that we're doing so that we can live our best lives. Your best life is not just money. Your best life is not about, being famous and having, the paparazzi coming down to snap at you every time you peek out your window. No. Your best life has to do with you and how you feel on the inside, and that energy that you give off every time you're around other people. That's how we break barriers. That's how we do it. I told a sister last night that how I was able to build confidence, even being shy as I was. I started giving other women compliments. Mm-hmm. And that made me feel much better about myself. I started commending other people who are doing live streams. I watch their shows. I tell them how amazing they are. I even tell them thanks on behalf of their guests. Thank you for allowing this person to share. Keep doing what you're doing. You bless my soul. And that's how I actually feel better about myself. It's so easy to compete. It's so easy to fight. It's so easy to tear other people down. But if we take the steps, if we are more intentional about what we are doing, then we find that the results are even greater than what we thought would be, right? So give, and it comes back. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how I see
You just brought me to Jamaica right now, Shanique. But
I didn't bring you yet.
You didn't bring me yet. Take me to Jamaica, because Shanique, the most, thing, the biggest thing that sometimes you think is like the most complicated, you guys are getting it. And it's the energetic vibe. It's the collective energy that you guys share. It's the sisterhood. And, I did a whole women's series, and I know that there are no accidents, because I interviewed Genesis last week, and I interviewed you. And it's true. As women, we even go through our own insecurities. And then, like what you're saying is, because it's a reflection, then you become competitive because you need to be better. But we're all different, and there's so much beauty in it. We might as well embrace it. And to be honest with you, even on this journey, as I stepped out into live streaming and starting 8 billion and, working on my career, the biggest form of support I've had have come from women. And it makes me keep going, because you know what I'm saying? Like, I know it's shifting. It's shifting from like what I feel like is a male dominated world, is shifting where women are becoming more empowered and speaking. And there's something so great about that, because we come from a space of love. We come from a space of, we share that energy. And like what I'm saying is, now I'm not saying like, oh, women are better. I'm just saying that we deserve a place on that platform. There's something that women bring, that emotion, so that's amazing that I'm so glad that because I specifically did a podcast that spoke more to men about a few weeks ago, from a gentleman from Australia. And now I was just like, I'm always asking for divine guidance in bringing guests to me, and Genesis and you have been amazing for like women empowerment. Right. And I truly honor that. I mean, I just wanted to ask you, so that's what I'm saying. I'm all like, I'm in my 40s, and here you women are getting it in your 20s.
Age of information. But Genesis is the one who actually taught me, because when I interviewed her about her book, that's how we connected. She taught me how to bond with other women, how to connect. Because another thing about our culture is women are not so kind to other women. And I've gotten a lot of hits from women. So she taught me how to endure and, keep on giving. And I found that the more I did that, it's the better I felt, even if I did not get it in return. Yeah, she actually taught me that. So yeah. Genesis, pick up yourself.
Bravo, Genesis. Yeah, I was just, I was just chiming in on her radio. She had a debut of a radio show yesterday, and she did amazing. And I feel absolutely like the feeling I have right now is so blessed to have these women come into my life from all around the world, and Jamaica being one of them.
Yeah, sister. Yeah, but I feel blessed to be meeting a lot of great people. And, just to share, I must say that you're the second person I've spoken to from the Philippines and from that culture, and they're really cool. The funniest thing for me is that you eat rice more than we think is normal. So.
Yeah. Filipinos are just one of the Asian cultures that eat rice. It's a staple for us. It's almost like you make a dish to eat it with rice.
It's always fascinating how much I hear, rice all the time. And if I eat too much rice, I start gaining weight. So
no, believe me, it's we love it so much, but it's sometimes it's to our demise because of, the weight that you gain, but for us, it's just so good and filling and, but if you ever make your way here to Southern California, I'd love to host you or take you out for Filipino food. And I'd love, when I go to Jamaica, the first door I'm knocking on is yours.
So many people are planning to come here, and I say, when you get here, just call me. Yes, just call me.
We are definitely gonna have some good times once the world opens up, right? I think everyone's waiting for that, but I don't believe that it's going to be far in the future. But, sometimes these podcasts, they fly through, and in that short amount of time, you dropped so many wonderful words of wisdom. I want to thank you so much because you accommodated me on a time that's very early for you. But if there's any parting words that you could leave, you've already dropped so much wisdom. If there's any parting words that you could leave on this podcast, as we continue to make our way through 2021 and all these changes, what would you share with the audience?
I would say that, as part of my message, I want to encourage men, women, wherever you are listening, that this is the time for you to start breaking barriers. Here's why. It's not just words. It's not just saying it because it sounds good. It's because of the benefits that you will gain from making moves that will change your life forever. So breaking your barriers is actually a right that was given to you the minute you were born. And you have to take hold of that right. I mean, when I talk about power over your past, progress for your present, and purpose for your future, that is something that you definitely want to take a hold of. And I say, get you one of these on Amazon, Breaking Your Barriers, and just watch your life change. It's very easy to read, even if you don't like reading. The chapters are very short and it's to the point. And you don't have to take it from me. Just check out the reviews. They're all there. So many people can't lie at the same time. So I'm encouraging you to get yourself a copy. Just change your life for the best. You know how it feels to allow your opportunities to miss you. You know how it feels not to be able to get close to people, to connect the way you want to connect, to love yourself, stop feeling unworthy, and stop feeling, inadequate. You have to break those barriers and see yourself in a better light. I did it, and because I did it, I know you can do it just the same. So
amazing. Thank you so much, Shanique. That was amazing. I really feel like you were, even me on my mission, it's always, you're going to have your ups and downs. There are going to be days you don't feel it there. I'm telling you, audience, even podcast hosts, live streamers, everyone, no human is an exception to the rule. You will have your good days and bad days, and it will take you sometimes back to those old feelings and programs that you had. But it's about breaking those barriers. It's about pushing through when it's most important, because you don't have to go all the way back to where you started. All you got to do is be mindful and conscious, and you got to push through. So Shanique, an amazing, amazing interview. I just feel so blessed. If anyone from the audience would like to get a hold of you, what would be the best way to connect with you?
The best places to reach me are Facebook at Shanique MJ Davis, or at this Shanique, ThisShanique, both the same names on Facebook and Instagram. Best places to reach me.
Awesome. So you guys heard it there. I will actually put it in any of the description boxes on social media when I post this. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that tuned into this show, whether you're doing it, right after I release it, or if this is something that you do, you come across in the future. I hope that the words of wisdom and the gems that were dropped by Shanique Davis will have provided you value in your life. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will see you on the next episode of the 8 Billion Podcast.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If it's moved you in any way, please review and share your thoughts, or text me your thoughts at 949-247-2800.